poverty does play a role in what has happened to this young girl and to so many others who are in the same economic situation as her. But let us not put it as 100% around a poverty or economic situation only. Women generally do face these challenges across different economic strata. The safety of women goes across, the discrimination against women goes across, the vulnerability of women and lack of society to protect women goes across. But women who are in these poverty-stricken environments are even more vulnerable than other ordinary women.
Mm. And in remote villages, or as you say, and the question I was asking about was the role, and as you say, it's not entirely responsible for the plight of these young women and women in general, girl children. But these remote villages where there's a lack of infrastructure, where police stations or law enforcement officers or officials tend to be far from them, what role can communities play, especially if we talk about community policing forums? Do those help?
Yes, they do help to some extent, because community policing forums are basically a form of activism by the community to help and collaborate with the police. But it has got to be escalated by the police beyond where the community has come in and put it on their table. So those forums do help, but the police have got to take it to the next level. That's the first thing. Secondly, those kinds of forums have got to be given a certain level of respect and a platform to be listened to by both the police and beyond the police, where they can actually intervene actively. And thirdly, the police have got to be able to give tangible support and response to community policing forums. It's one thing to actually be a community policing forum, but it's another to be a community policing forum that is active, that initiates this, that blows the whistle on certain of the violence and other discrimination that is happening, and then for the police to actually take it to the next level, investigate, prosecute, and ensure convictions where wrongfulness has actually occurred.
Mm. Last year, we saw the second presidential summit on gender-based violence and femicide, in which another host of promises were made by government departments and including the presidency. What do you foresee for 2023? The statistics for South Africa are shocking. They're blood-curdling. It really makes one feel helpless.
Yes, it does make one feel helpless, and a lot is still going to continue despite all those promises for a number of reasons. Number one, the harmful cultural practices that continue to be practiced within communities is a contributing factor. Poor policing itself is a contributing factor, but the poor socio-education, cultural, political
Advocate Sepanya, I'm just going to see if we have reconnected with you. Unfortunately, it seems that we might have a problem of bandwidth there. Are you back with us?
Supposed to be given to young women, a little change. That can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Okay. I was saying, unfortunately, in 2023, the scourge is going to continue despite the promises, because the environment that continues to enable and fester the violence that is meted against young girls and women is continuing unabated. We're seeing the education system that continues to be non-responsive, the lack of opportunities for both employment, education, and any improvement for young girls and women continues, especially in these areas.
We had a story yesterday of a young lady who, it was really a heartbreaking story, who is asking for help for plastic surgery because she got burnt with a chemical that she was using to try and protect herself. To alleged a serial rapist apparently broke into her house, and she was saying that she and her children still live in fear because she believes that they will return. Last year, the first quarter saw a 52%, I think it was a 46% increase in the killings of women and children, respectively. What can change? Because we've been told that the conversation also needs to be had amongst men. The conversation needs to be had amongst men and women, women and men, adults and children. But it seems like we're repeating the same conversations over and over again. Is there a lack of political will? Is there a lack of societal will to stop these egregious crimes?
Yeah, I think you are spot on about all of those things. There's got to be conversation that happen within the men's sector and men's forums about what their role has been in terms of the upbringing of the boy child, even the upbringing of the girl child, but also to look honestly at harmful cultural practices that continue to be protected under the guise of, no, it is culture, we cannot go there, we cannot talk about it, when we actually are encouraging certain behaviors, but also to ensure that there are concrete opportunities for girls to actually improve themselves, so women to empower themselves, and for government to make sure that that happens. There's got to be opportunities that are presented by government that women can take advantage of. We do not have to wait for a tragedy of this nature to happen for someone to be offered a job. And when they are offered a job,
we heard of drastic proposals such as chemical, sorry, the word fails me now, chemical castration, in order to deal with some of these crimes. But I think it really comes down to justice and accountability. Do you think that this will change actions of future perpetrators if things are righted in this manner, if sentences are longer, harsher, or speedier? Will that change, or do we live in such a violent society, as we know that even in our words we are violence, in our thoughts we are violence, even in how we see each other in a societal hierarchy, the way men talk to women and how they believe their rights ought to be curtailed? Is it something that's too far gone to change?
No, it is not too far gone. However, I just want to clarify, chemical castration will not help in terms of fighting the scourge, because the issue is not about the sexual nature of the violence that is being meted against women. The issue is actually the violent mentality which manifests itself through the sexual nature. So let's get there. There will still continue to be these high levels of violence, even if it means people are violated in other means other than that. So it will not help. But long-term sentences and efficient prosecutions would actually go a long way, as well as actually living up to what the letter of the law says. Let life be life. Let us not have a situation where people know that if I am sentenced to life in 23 years, in 20 years, in 25 years, I'll be back and I'll continue to do that. Let us not sacrifice a sector of our society by actually saying the prisons are too full. Let's release some of the people, when we are not looking at what kind of people that we are releasing. We continue to release rapists to come back, all because the prisons are full. We continue to release first-time offenders of horrendous crimes, all because prisons are full. There's got to be sectors that we actually say, you do this, you cannot be released. But to have that effective prosecution and effective convictions, we need to have effective investigation, therefore educated investigators by police officers who will know what to look for, how to look for it, how to preserve that evidence so that we actually have successful convictions where a crime has occurred. So it has got to be an entire machinery that is willed properly, and then we live up to say, if you have violated a certain a person in a particular way, you will go for this long, and that has got to happen.